When it comes to the creepiest unexplained mysteries and stories that are just downright unsettling, there's one place that never disappoints: Reddit. So grab your snacks, pour your drink, get comfortable, and let's dive into some of the strangest, most bizarre threads ever uncovered, handpicked by Mr. Unknown. r/AskCredit. User Reptilianson asked, Long haul truckers. What's the creepiest, most paranormal thing you've seen on the road at night? This answer comes from the user Jim Bob Paul. A good friend of mine told me this story years ago. He's the stereotypical, old-school, tough-as-nails trucker, the kind of guy who's seen everything and never flinches. I've been on the road with him before, driving through South Texas near the border, and we've come across some pretty strange things. He never reacted, not once. But when he told me this story, he had goosebumps. His expression was tense, and coming from him, that's the equivalent of pure fear. I'll tell it exactly the way he told me. Years ago, back in the late 90s, I was driving from my place in Central Texas down to Laredo to pick up a load. It was early morning, around 4 or 5. I had just come off a few days at home, so I wasn't tired at all. I was on one of those narrow, winding two-lane roads, the kind that runs through the absolute middle of nowhere. At some point, I noticed something on the side of the road just at the edge of my headlights. At first, I figured it was roadkill. That's pretty common out there. But as I got closer, I realized it wasn't just a dead deer. There was something crouched over it. My first thought was that it was a guy trying to take the antlers, maybe a trophy, or maybe just someone messed up in the head. Then I got closer, and I saw it was eating the deer. It was pulling chunks of meat out of the stomach and bringing them up to its mouth. Right then, it stopped, mid-motion, and it looked up at me, not at the truck, at me. It stood up, and that's when I realized this wasn't a person. It was huge, covered in brown hair, and standing on two legs. Everything happened fast. Maybe 3 seconds total. I was almost right on top of it at that point. I didn't even think about slowing down. I hit the gas and just tried to get out of there as fast as possible. As I passed it, it kept looking straight at me. Not at the truck, not at the lights. It was looking through the driver's side of the windshield, right where I was sitting. Like it knew exactly where I was. I was driving an old needle-nose Peterbilt at the time, the kind with the long hood that sticks way out in front of you. And even with that, I could still see its head above the hood as I passed. That's how tall it was. And what stuck with me the most was its eyes. There was intelligence in them, human intelligence, and that's what scared me the most. r/paranormal. This question comes from the user Anime Addiction Let's Go. Black entity or demon? My first encounter with it happened when I stepped out of my room. As soon as you walk out, you can see the stairs leading to the 3rd floor. I was heading to the restroom when I caught a glimpse of something crawling down the stairs. I stared at it, and it stared back at me for about 3 seconds. Then I just kept walking. At the time, I didn't fully process what I had seen, so I ignored it. But a few moments later, it hit me. I did see something. I looked back at the stairs, but there was nothing there. It had been at the very top. I remember its body clearly, completely black. When I looked again, it was gone. Later, I asked my cousins if they had ever seen anything in the house. They told me not a demon, but a ghost. I wasn't even asking about ghosts because I already knew there were some here. That made me think what I saw might have been something else entirely. You should understand the history of this house. It's been here since the 1970s and was renovated in the 1980s. Ever since then, my entire family has lived here. My cousins, my uncle, my aunt, my grandma, and my grandpa. My aunt has always said there's some kind of energy in this house that drains people. She lives abroad now, but she used to talk about having visions. She claimed she could leave her body and move around, almost like wandering outside of it. She said it wasn't something she tried to do, it just happened. She always believed the house carried emotional weight, like it brings stress, anger, and depression into the family. Over time, I started to feel the same way. It feels like no one here really succeeds, like something holds everyone back. I don't want to believe that. Maybe doomed is too strong of a word. It could just be that people here never had the support they needed mentally. But still, it's hard to ignore the pattern. What worries me more is that I'm not the only one who has seen something. My brother had an encounter too. He saw the same kind of figure in the bathroom, completely black. That didn't shock me, because my cousins had already said they'd seen something staring at them from that same bathroom. Now I'm starting to feel uneasy. One time my brother was cooking noodles. He clearly remembers turning on only one burner. But when he came back to check on it, 2 burners were on. There was also a wooden-handled fork sitting near the stove that he never touched. I never used to pay attention to things like this. But now, there have been signs. I've noticed random scratches on my legs and back. At first I ignored them, but now it's getting harder, too. I don't know what this is. Part of me thinks it could be something dark, maybe even a demon. I really hope it's not. I've heard those can do much worse, harm people, disturb everything around them. This thing does affect things, but in a subtle way. Still, it's enough to make me wonder, what do you think it is? R/glitch in the Matrix. Mr. Skills for Real says, me and my friends came back to missing rooms in an abandoned house. Me and my friend experienced something we still can't explain. First, I want to clarify something. We both went through this, and we both agree. We still have no idea what we experienced. We weren't under the influence of anything, and neither of us has any mental health issues. I'm a very scientific person. I don't believe in paranormal events. I always look for logical, natural explanations. Lately, we've been getting into exploring abandoned houses. Most of the time, it's pretty calm. We're out in the countryside, so there aren't any squatters, and we're often the first people to visit these places in a long time. After exploring dozens of creepy spots, I've never experienced anything like weird noises or anything those YouTubers exaggerate for content. But a few months ago, we found a large abandoned house. It had 3 floors and a basement. After scouting the area, we realized the only way inside was through the basement. There was an opening in the garden that led underground. So we went in and started exploring like we usually do. When you come down the stairs, you enter a main room with concrete floors and walls. To the right, there's a staircase leading up into the house. Straight ahead, the basement continues through a corridor where there's a large, rotting wooden shelf. At the end of that corridor, there are 2 more rooms. One of those rooms has a decaying wooden table and a dirt floor. I even took a picture of it. You can see it here. We continued exploring the house like normal and left after about 20 minutes. But this is where things completely messed with our heads. 4 days later, we came back to the same house with another friend. There was no sign that anyone had been there during those 4 days. Everything outside looked untouched. We entered through the exact same basement entrance, and that's when everything changed. This time, there was only one empty room and a staircase leading up into the house. That's it. No corridor, no extra rooms, no rotting wooden shelf, no dirt floor, no decaying table. The same one I had taken a picture of. It was just 4 concrete walls, a plain concrete floor, and the staircase. There were no signs of construction, no newly built walls blocking anything off. The entire basement looked like it had been that way for years, like nothing had ever been there in the first place. My first thought was that we must have entered through a different basement somehow, that the one I literally had a picture of couldn't have just disappeared. But the house wasn't that big, and we clearly remembered going down the same stairs, except now, those same stairs led to a completely different basement. What really messes with me is this. I still have a clear image of a room that no longer seems to exist, and my friend remembers it exactly the same way I do. So it's not just me misremembering, it's not some Mandela effect. We both saw it, and now it's just gone. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe to never miss another Mr. Unknown Reddit review.